in Southeast Iowa. Welcome to another edition of the King Kong Trail. I'm your host, Amy Vandiver, and sitting across from me is one of my really good friends and distinguished, awesomest guest, Jen Horn.
Hello.
Hello.
So glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me today.
I am very glad that you're here, and I am very happy that you accepted our invitation. So,
absolutely.
Yes. So, Jen, we've known each other for 4 or 5 years?
I think so, yeah.
Has it been that long?
It's been 4.
It's been definitely 4.
It hasn't been 5.
But you're one of those people, when you meet people like you, it feels like you've known each other for years before that. So, I don't know, you're just one of those click people. Like, not like click as in, but you just click with people.
Right.
Yeah. So the C-L-I-C-K, not the mean click. You're not a mean girl.
I'm not snobby. Well, I was a mean girl, so...
You were?
I was a mean girl, yes. And that was a revelation to my husband probably about 2 years ago. And...
Now, how did that get revealed?
Honestly, I don't quite remember. We were talking about something, and I was like, I was super mean growing up. Like, I don't know why he didn't realize, because I'm spicy anyway. So...
I would say saucy.
Yeah. Well, and like, yeah, I grew up without Jesus, and so me without Jesus is not a nice person.
Gotcha.
So,
yeah. Well, Jesus changes people, so.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's funny because Bethany, that works for Shane, knew me from high school, and so she knew me as Mean Jenny.
See, I didn't even know you as Jenny.
Doesn't it sound weird? But that's how I grew up. I grew up as Jenny, and that's what everybody called me. And Shane's family calls me that and throws people off. They're like, "Who is that?" So just a childhood nickname that mostly just family calls me Jenny. And if you decide to, I'm not opposed to it. I go by whatever. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah, I don't know. You've always been Jen to me, so
yeah. I just, hit 19 and I was like, I'm going to be more sophisticated and I'm going to be Jen.
Gotcha. It's like my brother's his name is James, but he was always Little Jimmy because my dad's James.
Okay. Yeah.
He's like, I don't want to be Little Jimmy. I don't want to be Jimmy. So call me James. I'm like, okay.
Right. Yeah.
So behind his back when I'm mad at him, I'll call him Little Jimmy.
Yeah. Or
I'm petty like that.
You do like, I got growing up all the time after Forrest Gump came out. Everybody was like Jenny, and I'm like, it got so old, and every once in a while I'll still hear it, and I'm like, please stop. Like,
I have a coworker named Jen, and she hates that movie, and she said, "Oh, I hate that movie." I'm like, that was an awesome movie. It had a great soundtrack, had great storyline. She goes, "Your name is not Jennifer."
Exactly. Yes, anybody with the name Jennifer, I'm sure they got the same kind of just not necessarily made fun of, but it was just a funny, like, get under your skin kind of a thing.
Yeah, she also hates it when anyone sings 8675309.
No, see, I like that. That's my song.
See, I like the song that Amy, What You Gonna Do, blah blah blah, that song. And Doug won't sing it to me because it says falling in and out of love with you. And he's like, I can't fall out of love with you. I'm like, okay, you don't have to sing that one to me.
Aww. That's so cute.
Oh, my goodness. But hey, you're here for a very important public service announcement as well. Not just hanging out, although you can hang out here anytime because,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So when I first met you, you were leading a study, and one of the things that you kind of talked about was your journey through some of the things that you went through physically and how that's changed you too. And so I've always known you after the fact of your stroke.
Yes.
And I did not know the pre-stroke Jen, or obviously the teenage Jenny, or whatever you were called, like a little kid. But, I just know that is something that is really... really shaped who you are and how you've grown and different things like that. And this is May is National Stroke Awareness Month, correct?
It's National Stroke Awareness Month. And so, like, on my Facebook, I just post, not only stuff about myself, but through my journey, but I also post different stroke facts that, I collect through different sources. A lot of it comes from the American Stroke Association that I've just looked up and I've done some reading on, which can be sort of scary if you've had a stroke or know somebody who had a stroke. If you go through and you read some of this stuff, it can be quite frightening what you're looking at, and you're like, oh, I didn't know it could do that, or, because I know... and I was thinking about this on the way here. You hear it a lot in movies and TV. Everybody jokes like, oh, well, better be careful. You're going to have a stroke. Or
don't stroke out.
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't realize how often like that was said until after I had a stroke. And it's a little bit of a trigger for me.
Okay.
So just a little bit of PTSD associated with it. Like, it just hits me funny. And I'm like, I don't like it as a joke.
Right.
Like, it doesn't offend me. I get it, but
at the same time,
yeah,
it's a real thing and it affects people very profoundly.
Yes, exactly. And so it just it throws me back, and it takes me back to October of 2017 when I had my stroke, and it just kind of gives me not good thoughts, even though we've said stroke a million times already. But when I watch something and it's, thrown out as a joke or something like that, I'm like, you don't realize how very serious this is. It's in the top 5 killers in the U.S. And a lot of times it actually kills more women than breast cancer.
Wow. Well, you see breast cancer awareness.
It's everywhere. And you rarely see anything about stroke awareness. Like, before I had a stroke, I didn't really know what to look for. I just thought, oh, well, your face droops and you act a little crazy. No, there are other things that happen and that are associated with a stroke that I found out since then that I'm like, whoa, it affects everything. Because when you think about it, it's your brain. And that controls everything that's associated with your body. So it would affect everything, and it affects even like little minute things. Like, a funny thing that we tease is that I'm Gen 2.0. So you said,
I met 2.0.
Yeah, you met me, and Bethany that works for my husband is like, well, technically you're 3.0, and I'm like, okay, technically.
Well, one's Jenny, one's Gen 1.0, Gen 2.0.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got a new personality, and Shane said, you're like you, but better. And at first I was like, is that a compliment? Or, and I just, through talking to other people, they've said, you're a more open person. You're more approachable. My husband says, I seem more happy at this point, which sounds crazy. You had a stroke and you seem more happy. But it can also go the opposite way, where you can get mean and cranky. And I haven't done very much research into that as far as personality wise. I did a little bit, but you basically kind of have a 50-50 chance.
Do you think that depends on where in your brain the stroke actually happens? What
it
part
does.
of your brain?
It does, because there I can't remember which part controls the personality, but yeah, that has something to do with it. And I lost what I was going to say.
See, that's okay.
It's okay. My brain shut off for a second.
Somewhere else. So you brought this fact sheet that you had. Okay, so you had the stroke in 2017. So we must have met in 18, because you were on the mend from that.
Yeah.
And
I think it was 2018 when you guys started coming to the crossing.
That sounds about right. I just know that it was soon after, but I did not even know that you had it.
Right.
So you were already 2.0ing.
Well, and to look at me, like, you wouldn't know that I had a stroke. But sometimes talking with me, you can see, like, even just a little bit ago when my brain kind of shut off, that, there's still some things that are not 100%,
It's not firing all the way there.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like the circle of death that you used to see when you're trying to get somewhere on the internet. Sometimes that's my brain. It just and sometimes it stops. Sometimes I just forget wherever I was going, whatever I was saying. And there's not much known about, some of it's from medication, but some of it is just after effects of a stroke.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, the day that you had the stroke, you kind of you told me that story. Would you like to share a little bit about that?
Yes, absolutely. I'm actually fairly comfortable sharing my story and sharing about it because I know that I've gone through this for a reason, and whoever I can reach, I'm glad to do it. As hard as it has been to walk through, I am 100% glad to do this kind of thing, create more awareness as far as where things are going, the effects of them. So my stroke was October 11th, 2017. And sort of funnily enough, we were at worship practice at church. And it was going to be my first week in the sound booth running the slides. And I was already, kind of nervous. And I'd had a headache all day, which wasn't uncommon.
Okay.
I had suffered from frequent headaches and migraines pretty much my entire adult life. So it wasn't anything. It was just one of those gnawing headaches. I was like, oh, great. And went ahead, went through the first song, and everything was good. And I don't exactly remember. Some things get kind of fuzzy at this point. And some of it's been relayed to me, so I don't really have a real memory of it. I just know what's been told to me as far as what happened.
Okay.
But I started to feel, and this should have been an indication, but really bad pins and needles in my right arm, and mostly located about mid forearm. And it was just very strange. My vision, I lost a good portion of my vision right then and there. And it was just kind of weird and fuzzy, and my ears were ringing.
Were you just thinking that you were having a headache, a migraine?
Yeah, I just thought that it was associated with that. Now, why? I don't know. And then I asked the boy next to me, he was a teenager. What I thought I said, and I'm not sure this is what I actually said, was, hey, can you take over for me? Because he gave me a strange look afterwards, like, what are you talking about, crazy lady? And so I just stepped back for a little bit, and it wasn't letting up or anything like that. Our worship pastor at the time came back to check on us and see what was going on. And I was like, I just need a minute. Somehow stumbled out of the sound booth all the way toward where they have the little lounge area. And Shane came shortly after me to check on me, see if I was okay. And I'm like, yeah, I just have a bad headache. Which was exactly what I thought. And I think I said earlier that my face didn't droop. So that's usually one of the main things, is that you have a lot of facial drooping with a stroke. Mine didn't. My speech was a little messed up. Bad headache.
Do you think that's why he was looking at you funny? Because maybe you thought you were saying, hey, can you take over? And you made had a bit of aphasia? Maybe.
Well, I do suffer from aphasia still.
Since the stroke, or before too?
Since the stroke.
Okay.
So I'm not exactly sure, because I never really talked to the young man who was there afterwards, because I'm sure it was a little dramatic for him too. He's like, what's going on? But I told Shane, I'm like, no, I'm fine. It's just a bad headache. I'll just lay in the back of the on the back row. You finish worship practice. It'll be fine. Thinking about it now, I'm like, this is the craziest thing that I ever could have done, was to do that. But once again, without the facial drooping, didn't have that big sign that, oh, hey, something's really wrong.
So it's not like you're walking around like a Sims with a triangle over your head with a flashing light going, danger, danger.
Right. Well, and at the time I was 37 years old, and that's really young to have a stroke. And that's one of the only times at that age everybody called me young. They're like, wow, you're so young. And I'm like, oh, thanks. Yeah, because otherwise everybody's like, well, you're middle-aged now. But if you have a stroke at 37, everybody's like, oh, wow, you're so young. You're too young for this. Mm-hmm. I am. Yes, I am.
Young or not, here I am.
Yeah, exactly. But I've learned since you can have a stroke at any age, at any time, and there's not always a rhyme or a reason to it.
So if you were talking to a group of people about this, and we are kind of talking to, we're talking to the internet and whoever's going to hang out with us. So thank you for hanging out with us. What would you tell them if they come across a friend who's saying, oh, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine? You know, sometimes there might be some more pointed questions than, are you okay? Because everyone wants to say, I'm fine. But what are some questions that, you know, if someone has a kind of like, oh, there's something wrong here, but, you know, can't pinpoint it because maybe they're young, maybe they don't have the face droop, maybe they're not saying, hey, I have tingling in my arm and my hands are going to sleep and I can't see out of the side. Because did you tell that to Shane at all?
No.
And
I think I said something a little bit about my arm because it kind of felt like it was just going to sleep. And so, and it still kind of does that. I still have right side weakness and pins and needles and some serious nerve pain that happens just whenever. There's no rhyme or reason to that either.
Lovely.
I know that only because I did trial and error in the first year after my stroke. I was like, okay, is it what I eat? Is what I drink? How much water I drink in a day? How much sleep I get? How much activity I have? No, if it's sunny, I have nerve pain. If it's rainy, it's worse. You know, so weather kind of contributes to it. At some point, I lovingly call myself the human barometer now.
It's a superpower, the human barometer.
I know. Well, because, you know, every superhero goes through something traumatic.
Oh, that is true.
And then that's how they get their superpowers. So, yes.
I'm really glad you didn't have to fall into a vat of radioactive ooze or something.
I know, right? And then, you know, turn green. Because that's usually what happens after they fall into the ooze. They turn green or their hair turns crazy colors.
Right.
Mine just does that because my husband's a hairdresser.
So you told Shane you were fine, but if you were telling somebody that had, you know, a concern about a friend, a loved one, what are some of the pointed questions you might have them ask so they can say, hey, this is something more than just I'm fine type of thing?
So some of the things you want to ask especially is like current events. Like, do they know who the president is? Do they know what day it is? And even what time of day. Do they know who they are? Those are some of the things they asked me at the ER when I was up in Iowa City. And I couldn't tell them who the president was. I could see him, and I was really irritated, but I couldn't tell them who he was. I'm like, I can't think of his name. So things like that. And then once again, facial drooping, their speech is going to be affected. So whether they slur their speech, they're almost like they're drunk. So that kind of a thing. I'm trying to think, because there's just a little acronym. FAST. So facial. So you check the face for facial drooping. Can't remember.
Is it in here?
I don't think it is. I can't.
You posted it a couple days ago.
I did post it a couple of days ago, and all the.
You know, we will look up that for the next segment, so we can go through that. Because I know speech and something.
Here it is.
Oh, cool.
Haha. I'm like, I swore I printed it out so that I could have it.
Okay.
See, because I need things like this so that it kind of helps to keep me on a path, because I get off on a little tangent sometimes, which anybody can. But sometimes I'll never go back to the original place that I started.
Well, the King Kong Trail is all about jumping on tangents, so you're on the right podcast.
Yes. So the acronym is FAST or Be Fast. I don't remember what the B and the E stand for. That one I didn't have. But so the F is for your face. Ask a person to smile. Does the side of their face droop? And then their arms. Ask the person to raise both arms, and does one arm drift downward, which it will feel like heavy. So like my right side sometimes feels heavy, and so it will just kind of start to go down on its own. I even have known some people where sometimes their arm just goes up on its own. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I'm kind of glad I don't have that, but I feel really bad for the people who, they don't have a lot of control over their side that they had the stroke on. And so S is for speech. Ask the person to repeat a simple phrase. Is the speech slurred or strange? So basically you're going to sound like you're drunk or you're on some sort of medication. You'll know immediately, something's not quite right. And then the T is time. If you see any of these signs, call 911 right away. So time is a very important factor after having a stroke. If you can get to the ER within the first hour, I believe it's the first hour, there is a medication that they can give you that will help to kind of, not necessarily reverse, but to kind of
break up the
clot and help you to kind of come back, which, I kick myself basically every day, because if I had known, we would have gone to the ER. And I'm like, I should have known, but I didn't really, because stuff like this is not talked about very much. It because you worked in the medical industry and you worked with older people, so you know what to look for, but the average person doesn't.
Well, and the average person doesn't have one at 37 years old, so
they do not.
Yeah, so I don't know what the average age is, but you said, strokes affect women.
60.
60?
60 and up,
and that's still really young.
It is.
So, well, I'll tell you what. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll come right back after this message.
Okay.
Welcome back. King Kong Trail. I'm here with Jen Horn, not Jenny, not Jen Nay. I won't do that to you. It's bad, and I'm awful at. I guess people say I do lots of puns. I used to call it situational humor. So,
yeah.
But whenever I see, I sing songs to people or whatever. I'm like, oh, here's your song, and they're like, stop. Like my cousin Roxanne or sister-in-law Sarah. Although Sarah threatened to punch me in the throat, so I don't do that because she scares me. Yeah, so I don't sing Sarah her song, but I'm like, it's kind of like, oh, because I like when people sing my song, but
yeah.
But I do know you like the one song,
fun
so
and happy. Yes, I do. 867-5309.
Yes, so
that's my phone number. Dial it.
All right. So she's giving out her phone number here on the internet here.
Don't tell my husband. That's what he gets for just dropping me off and taking off, right?
He loved you?
Yeah.
He was here?
He was here. He's just at my mom's house, just a couple blocks away.
Okay. Everybody's just a couple blocks away in Burlington. I'm just saying, we're all neighbors here.
They really are. It's crazy. It's okay. I'm loving living in the country, so I'm down with that. I don't miss living in the city very much at all.
It's kind of funny because I hear, we've had people come on and oh yeah, my aunt lives down the street over here, or I know the people, I'm related to these people, and they're all neighbors of ours, some, maybe a block or two away or whatever, but sure. I'm like, yeah, go back far enough, we're all
related. It all goes back to Adam and Eve.
There you go. We're sisters.
Ta-da!
Family. I have a new cousin. Her name's Jen. Okay. Well, you brought me some really good facts and things like that. And so I was in 2020.
Yeah, these were 2020. I thought it was 2021, the ones that I printed off.
Okay, no, these are 2021. They are, but they quoted a 2020 statistic in this that 1 in 6 deaths from cardiovascular disease was due to stroke. I mean, that's huge.
It is huge. I didn't realize that the numbers were as high as they were until I started doing some of the research, and I was like, whoa, that's really a lot bigger of an issue than I thought.
So in your research and things like that, have you is there contributing factors that people might need to be aware of?
It's kind of hard because some strokes have a reason and some strokes don't. So I've met a few people online through different support groups that are online. So there are stroke support groups online. So in case you've had a stroke and need a good support group, I can, hook you up with that too.
If you send us a link, we can add it to one of the breaks.
Okay,
we can just put it there.
Yeah, I can do that. But they have been really informational and really good. I've learned a lot from those things too, and learned that everybody kind of suffers differently. And the neurologists know a lot about the brain, but there's still so much that they don't know. So for me, I lost originally 50% of the eyesight in both of my eyes. So I lost the right portion of my vision in both eyes. And it was originally black, like there was nothing there.
So you're looking through a tunnel?
No, it was as if somebody had put their hand over one of my eyes. But whether I closed my left or my right eye, I saw all the same stuff. But it was, while I was in the hospital in Iowa City, it was completely black. Now, it started to come back while I was up there. It's come back a little bit more since, but, kind of depressing. When I saw the ophthalmologist, she's like, well, I don't want to give you too much hope, but this is probably the way it's going to be for the rest of your life. And I'm like, okay, even though a stroke recovery is a continual journey. There's not a serious timeline. Like the first 6 months have the biggest gains, and you get the most back in the first 6 months. But that's not to say 5-10 years down the road, you're not going to have
not going to have anything else come back to you.
Yes,
or
exactly.
Restored.
Yes. So you can still get things back even if it's been a long time. So it can be a little daunting when you look up stroke facts. And so it was probably for the first 2 or 3 years, I didn't really do much at all with it. Because I was like, sometimes you don't want to act like it's there. Kind of like having the elephant in the room. But
sometimes you need a break from.
Yeah, because it was like that was my everyday. I was living it, and I was not necessarily just trying to survive, but I was just trying to get better. Like that's all I wanted, was to get better so that I could be with my kids and be the mom that they needed.
How old were your kids when you had your stroke?
So
they were little. Right?
They were really young. So 2007, Cece was 10. She just turned 10, and Jensen had just turned 4, and then Weston would have been 7. So they were pretty young. Jensen was just in preschool because he's my youngest. Weston was in kindergarten, and Cece was in 4th grade.
Okay.
So that was pretty traumatic for them as well, because they were able to talk to me while I was in Iowa City. I was in Iowa City for almost a full week. But my husband and I decided that it wasn't necessarily a good thing for them to see me while I was up there. I was in pretty sad shape while I was up there. So we waited until they moved me back down to Burlington to see me. And that was a really good reunion for them to come and to be able to see me. And Jensen especially, he was affected a lot. He just wanted to snuggle me and hang out with his mom.
Aw.
So yeah, he's attached at my hip. He's my little guy. So that was a little traumatic for them. And I think, they were worried too. Like, it was a facing immortality for all of us. Like, we all know that we're going to die at some day, but sometimes things like this happen and you're suddenly faced with, I could have really died. I mean, when I looked at my chances, like, it's a miracle I am alive today. Like, I shouldn't have survived it.
Especially since you were like, I'm fine, don't need any help.
Yeah. Well, and when I talked to my doctor afterwards, it wasn't my first stroke. I had a TIA like a month before. So,
did you have any signs or symptoms or know about that, or is it just something that they just discovered on like an EKG or whatever?
So it would have been an MRI.
Okay.
So I have had so many CTs and MRIs since. I don't recommend the MRIs. Those are no fun, because I get the super fun one where they put the cage over your face.
Oh, lovely.
Oh yeah. So,
I've seen that on medical dramas, so I'm an expert in those.
Right?
I'm kidding. I have no idea.
And I don't know how I made it through the first one when I was in Iowa City. I don't remember it, actually.
You might have been, they might have given you something to calm you for that or something.
And they may have, but I fell asleep, and there was music. I remember there was music playing, and they would check on me every once in a while. But if you've ever had an MRI, how I slept through that, no idea.
How long did it take to get in there? I mean, how long were you in that contraption? Do you know?
It's usually an hour.
Oh, wow.
So they do the first half hour without the contrast dye, and then the second half hour with a contrast dye. And that's basically checking your veins to see how the blood and stuff is flowing through your veins, which that's a very weird sensation, because all of a sudden it's cold and something foreign moving through your body. Like your body automatically knows that. So that's a very strange sensation. So yeah, I've had a couple MRIs, couple CTs. And it just, at this point, it is what it is, and it bothers me because you can't move. Like, your arms are kind of basically pinned, and they just tuck you in really tight. But as long as they talk to you or play music, it goes by pretty fast.
Gotcha.
I try to close my eyes.
Did you get to pick the music and things like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember what I chose when I was in Iowa City. But yeah, the one in Iowa City, they play music. The one down here, they don't.
Maybe they should get music down here.
They should. I don't know what they need to do that. But that
radio?
Something.
MP3 player or something?
Yeah, you'd think they could do something, because they can talk to you through the little headphones in the MRI machine. So I don't know why.
Maybe they just need to be asked, hey, put on some music. I have no idea. Yeah. I know me and music, that's something we do. I mean, it's just something.
Well, and music is fantastic therapy for lots and lots of things. It's fantastic for stroke recovery as well. And I know I've felt music more deeply since my stroke. I don't know if that kind of makes any sense, but just kind of a deeper connection to it. And I do not have the best singing voice. I'm just going to put it out there. I'm tone deaf. So if I have somebody next to me who's singing and can really sing, then I can kind of go off of that. But if I'm singing by myself, it's pretty pathetic.
Well, we make a joyful noise.
Yeah, I mean, God thinks it sounds good, so that's where I'm at. My poor husband, on the other hand, is like, oh, please stop.
See, I'm okay. Doug can just take out his hearing aids if it's...
Oh, that's right.
So he's okay if my singing is crazy, I think.
At least he hasn't said anything to...
He smiled.
He's grinning. He's like, yes, mostly.
It's like one of those things, people ask, does this dress make me look fat? There's no right answer.
Yeah.
Does my voice make you want to cry?
Exactly.
No right
I'm pretty sure my voice makes my husband want to cry, because
we should just sing together and start a duet.
Not right now. No,
not right now.
No,
Okay.
It's bad.
Second fact you have, every 40 seconds, someone in the United States has a stroke.
Yep.
Every 3.5 minutes, someone dies of a stroke. And you were saying earlier in the first segment how, strokes kill more women than breast cancer.
Yes.
And, I mean, I'm for the, cancer research and things like that, but...
Absolutely.
I don't see the walks, and I don't see the ribbons. I see your nails are done. Is that the stroke awareness ribbon?
Okay, yes. So red is the stroke awareness ribbon, and I just had my nails done today. Aren't they fabulous? And she hates it because she's like, I'm terrible at drawing that ribbon. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm only going to make you do it one time in May, and every year though, and then we'll be done with it. Like, I won't make you do a ribbon any other time. Is that okay? And she's like, it's fine. But yeah, red is for stroke awareness. And then May is Stroke Awareness Month. They do also have in October, I want to say it's October like 29th is World Stroke Day.
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure on that date. I believe it's the 29th. I don't know if I have that.
It might be in this. You have lots of good facts and things like that.
Yeah, some of this is from the CDC. Some of it's from American Stroke Association. So I try to pull things that kind of are good facts for people to know, and I put those in my posts when I post on Facebook. And I made a disclaimer post on the first day of May. If you're annoyed by this, please silence me. Silence me on your feed. That's totally fine. You don't have to comment. You don't have to read anything, because I get it. It can be a lot, because I also pull lots of facts there too and put in. And some of them are quite long, just depending on whatever it is that I pick for that day.
But things like this and knowing how to save someone's life or your own life,
exactly,
I think are a lot more important than what somebody had for dinner, or what the latest trend in the Kardashian household is, or whatever. I mean, this is life or death, literally.
And it's stuff people should know. Like, this should be more talked about, and it should be more taught different places. And once again, go back, cancer is huge, and cancer should absolutely be taken care of. But I feel like in the top 5 deaths, like some of that awareness and education should be happening as well. Because like I said, I didn't know any of this stuff beforehand. Would I have known, looking at somebody that was acting drunk, that they were really having a stroke as opposed to just being a crazy drunk person? No, I wouldn't have.
Right. Yeah, and I think also you said the smiling,
yes,
the speech, raising your hand. I want to say there's something too where you squeeze.
Yes,
you have them squeeze both hands, and if one's like really, and there's different things, and if you're in doubt, call 911.
Exactly. And that was one of the things.
At least talk it through with them, and
Yeah, they're fabulous. If you call and need to talk to one of the nurses, they're fabulous. Talking to them, just tell them what's going on, and they can lead you to.
They can triage from there.
Yeah, exactly right. That's what they're trained. That's what they're trained for. And that was something too. It was very valuable that was said to me just before my 1-year stroke anniversary. I gave myself a severe panic attack and a severe migraine, and I thought I was going to have another stroke because I have a little PTSD associated with my stroke, and I'm working through it. Counseling's a wonderful thing. Highly recommend counseling if you can get it. I know a lot of counselors are pretty booked up right now.
Yeah, there's just so much stuff going on.
There's a huge mental health crisis happening as well. But highly recommend it. What was I saying before that?
The stroke. You thought you were having a stroke again?
Yes. So at my 1-year anniversary, I thought I was having a stroke, and I was talking to my mom, and she's like, "Why don't you call your doctor?" And I was like, you know what? That's probably a good idea, because I was like, I've had this headache all day, and it's not like the worst headache in my life. It wasn't the headache like I had with my stroke, but it still was like a gnawing one that had just been going on all day. And so I called and I talked to my doctor's nurse, and she's like, you know what? Nobody's ever going to make you feel bad for doing that, or they shouldn't,
right?
Because of your medical history. So because you've had one stroke, they shouldn't make you feel bad, because you're more likely basically to have another one. And so she was able to kind of talk me through it, and figured out that I had just given myself a stress headache. So the doctor did call in some medicine for me to kind of help me chill out, and some higher dose. I don't remember if it was Tylenol or ibuprofen, and then migraine medicine to just kind of help calm that all down. And it really did work, and everything was fine. But I was thankful that I had been talking to my mom about it, because I was really, really freaking out. And just, when you get stuck in your head like that sometimes too, you can get in a crazy headspace. And I didn't know at the time how difficult that 1-year anniversary was going to be for me. I mean, there were a lot of emotions tied up in it, because I'm a different person now, but my life path that I thought I was on completely changed. Everything completely changed. I completely changed. Not that it's necessarily a bad thing, but I was just like, is it going to happen again? Am I actually going to die this time?
Right. And, and once again, you still have small children, and
Yes.
and I think you think about family and the effect and how, all the, oh my goodness, all the things that you would I just, to be able to work through all that would be a lot.
It was a lot, and I'm like I said, I'm very thankful for my counselor that has been able to kind of help me through all of this and adjust to what I call my new normal. So, and I still see a counselor, every few weeks. And once again, I'm a big proponent for counseling. Get into counseling. I think everybody needs counseling, and pretty much everybody needs Celebrate Recovery.
That's a good program from what I hear.
It really is. We were involved in it for a while, and that's a super good program. After we were involved, we're like, whoa, we probably need this too. I'm like, oh no. But no, there are different things that we go through throughout the day or throughout our lives that we don't realize the impact that they have had on us. And it's good to have somebody to talk to that not only is set apart from the situation and can look at it,
Stay
objective with it, but they can also help to talk you through it and guide you through it, and in a positive way rather than the toxic ways that we tend to deal with things.
Shopping.
Well, is that really
things.
a bad thing?
Well, I mean, like people go to shopping. They call it retail therapy, but
Yes.
it's not. That's not going to fill you. And
No, it's not,
Yeah.
because people do. They fill it up some way, whether it's gambling, shopping, eating, drinking, drugs,
isolating, workaholics. I mean, working too much. I mean, there's something out of balance, basically.
Yeah, and we all kind of have those. We live in a fallen world, and it's out there, unfortunately. It's just learning how to cope with them and learning how to cope with it the right way.
Bring it into balance.
Yeah, and not cope with it in a negative way like a lot of us have been most of our lives.
Well, I think it's really easy to fall into that negative because
Absolutely.
for a little while, being negative and looking at something from a negative perspective can feel good because we almost feel justified.
Yeah,
in it.
it can feel
But
therapeutic, but it's not.
Oh no, it's like a trap.
Well, and that's where too, like surrounding yourself with good people that are positive influences, some that will listen to you and you can kind of commiserate with, but that will help to bring it back and be like, you know what, I get this. This is 100% valid, but how can we put a positive spin on it? I have one of my friends, she calls me her positive friend. I have a new positive outlook. But, because I tend to put that spin on it as far as, okay, this is happening. It's totally valid, but
Where do you go from here?
exactly. So how can we do this positively?
Yeah, not always easy, but those are the people that are really looking out for your best interest.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It's annoying sometimes. And I'm certain I'm so annoying sometimes with my positivity, but a positive mind has a much bigger impact than a negative mind. A negative mind can actually make you physically ill if you're not careful. And that's why, the Bible says to take every thought captive to Christ. And it's very, very important to do that. Am I good at that? Not always. So,
It's something to aspire to.
yes, exactly. It's kind of
Not
like
that it would be perfect in those things.
well, it's kind of like the Proverbs 31 woman where she's like this perfect woman or whatever. It's like, these are the things to aspire to. It's not saying that you have to be them, but
Whew, good. I'm not there yet.
I know, right? I'm so not there. My husband's probably going, that's right. Like,
Well, there's no Proverbs 32 guy, so there's nothing to.
I know, right? Well, I think he's supposed to be like the Boaz,
Oh yeah.
where he just comes in and rescues his Ruth, and
I don't know. Ruth worked for it. I'm just saying.
She did work for it. Like, she worked her little hiney off. I'm not.
Yeah.
That's not a sad thing.
I love that book.
That is a good one.
Yeah. I used to read it. Like, Mom would say, "Are you reading the Bible?" I'm like, "Yes, of course I'm reading the Bible." She'd quiz me on it. I don't know. What are you reading? Ruth? Again? Yes.
It's a really good book.
It is. Okay. Another stroke fact. About 87% of all strokes are ischemic strokes in which blood flow to the brain is blocked.
Yes.
What is ischemic? Ischemic?
I'm not exactly sure. I want to say it's like ischemic, or I'm probably totally butchering it.
No, that's okay. That sounds right.
So I think that's the way it's pronounced.
Okay.
Don't quote me on it, okay? Because I could be totally wrong.
Okay.
So that's one of the types of strokes, and it's the disruption of blood flow to the brain.
So it's not necessarily a blockage; it's just a disruption.
Yeah, and it can be a blockage because if you have a clot, and that's the biggest thing that they look for is they look for a clot, and then they look to dissolve the clot, and if it doesn't dissolve on its own, then they have to go through and they have to put a stent in, which was what they were talking about for me. So my stroke, when I was in Iowa City, they kept asking me, "Have you been to a chiropractor? Have you been to a chiropractor?" And I'm like, "No, I crack my neck myself." And in front of the neurology team in Iowa City, I cracked my neck in front of them. I thought they were going to all have a panic attack and die right then and there. Because I laugh about it now, but I do remember little bits of that right there. So mine was from cracking my neck myself.
And that seems like such an innocent thing. But whenever my kids crack anything now, I'm like, "Stop it. Stop it. You go talk to Jen. Stop it."
Exactly. You want to lose 50% of your vision? Keep cracking your neck, man. But what it did was it caused a tear in my vertebral artery that runs up the back of my neck. And it was just behind one of the bones right there at the base of your skull. And you can see it on, I think I have one of the pictures on Facebook. I'll have to go back and look through. But there was just like a little bump from having that clot there in my vein. There was even just a little bump. Because I've been cracking my neck most of my life.
But not since then.
No. It's happened on accident. Everyone, when you just lean.
I don't think that counts.
That's different. Like, if you just lean your neck over and it cracks, like, that's different. Whereas if you're, like, putting your hand there. And
trying to manipulate it
yourself. It can happen if you're not careful from a chiropractor as well. And I'm not speaking out against chiropractors, but sometimes if they manipulate your neck, then because those veins are so delicate, it can happen. It's one of those things that's like a 1 in a million shot. I don't remember the exact statistics for that kind of a thing. But same thing with me cracking my own neck. Like, it was like a 1 in a million thing.
Yeah, my kids do that. Then they sit there and they crack their knuckles like behind me. I'm like, drives me nuts. I'm like, stop.
Oh, see, I do that. I crack everything else. But I've been able to reach so many people through that because I'm like, don't crack your neck. And I've had actually people stop cracking their neck because they see where I'm at and they're like, whoa, I don't want to be there. And I'm like, I don't want you to be here. And that's why I tend to be a little fierce. And once again, it's a little bit of PTSD where, like, if somebody cracks their neck in front of me, instant panic. It's just one of those things that just throws me right back to when I had done it. And it's a compulsion and I'm working on it, but I'm always like, don't crack your neck. Like, I just go into a little bit of a panic and my husband's like, calm down. It's okay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but it's not.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we will talk a little bit more about this right after this break. We're back. Yay. I'm so glad to have you back. It's been so long since the last segment.
Right? Like, I feel like it's been forever.
It has been forever. It has been like a whole 30 seconds.
That was way too long.
I know. It's been 29 seconds longer than that needed to be.
Absolutely. 100%. Okay. But I had to get up and stretch.
That's okay because, we just need to do that every once in a while.
Because I'm older now, and so, like, I have to do that.
Ancient one, yes.
I know. My body doesn't respond the way that it used to. Like, sit somewhere for hours and be totally fine. Now I get up off the floor and I'm like, ow, that was a mistake.
I've been painting the boys' room and then gardening, and then on Mother's Day we painted and gardened, and at the end I'm like, I can't move. I can't move. I am so tired. Oh my goodness. Boys, fetch me water. Fetch me this.
Peel me a grape.
Oh, I should have had him peel grapes.
Yes.
Huh.
I had a friend, and her mom would say that to her husband every once in a while. She'd just act all faint and be like, peel me a grape.
Oh my goodness. Then I don't have to chew so hard. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Those grape skins, man, they're hard to chomp on.
I know. Fan me with ostrich plumes or whatever the heck that is in the movies.
I know, they're so pretty.
I know, they are pretty and fluffy.
Oh, I love fluffy stuff. It's probably why I'm so chubby.
You're not chubby. You're cute. You're adorable, and I love you.
I love you too.
All right. You got some more facts, so I picked out another fact.
Okay.
All right. Stroke-related costs in the United States came to nearly $53 billion between 2017 and 2018. This total includes the cost of healthcare services, medicines to treat stroke, and missed days of work.
Yep.
That's craziness.
That's not surprising, though, because, I was in the hospital. So, kind of go back to October of 2017. We went to the ER here in Burlington, and they immediately knew, well, not immediately, they had treated me for a migraine, which is what we thought it was. Well, the medicine didn't touch it, and they're like, oh, no, we need to send her to Iowa City. So they sent me to Iowa City.
Did they do, like, the smile test and all that kind of stuff?
I don't remember. And Shane's not here for me to ask. But there was something, and they were like, something's not right. I'm not sure if down here they realized it was a stroke at that time, but they knew it was more than they could handle and more than they knew what to do with. So when I say I'm a lot, I mean I'm a lot.
Well, I'm glad then whoever made the call sent you to where you needed to be to get the help that you needed. So
yes, exactly. So I spent an hour and a half in the back of an ambulance. So luckily, or maybe not luckily, like they didn't air flight me. Like I didn't get to fly on the helicopter. I am kind of sad about that. That might have been a little fun.
Yeah. Maybe being in the pilot seat, maybe not being in the...
Yeah. But I'm not sure I'd remember it, because I really don't remember much about them taking me from here to Iowa City. Like, that hour and a half, totally gone. I remember that they had me on the gurney, and they strapped me in, and they put me in, and I kind of faded in and out.
Did they give you something for pain to kind of...
They had in the ER.
So maybe it was kicking in.
And it may very well have been, but it wasn't, when I was in the ER, it wasn't even touching the pain that I had.
Okay.
And that's part of how you know you're having a stroke. It's the worst headache you've ever had in your entire life. And so they sent me to Iowa City, and I spent 5 days in Iowa City and had a very bleak outlook for what was coming next, because they were talking 2 weeks down here in transitional care at the hospital, and after that at a care facility for an undetermined amount of time. I was not walking unassisted. I had trouble, so once again, aphasia, and it's trouble processing words, and words didn't come out right, and they still don't sometimes.
Did you have aphasia where you couldn't understand the words too? Receptive aphasia and okay,
yeah, oh yeah. And I even had where I remember being there, and they always wrote the nurses' names and stuff. And there was one nurse's name, and I swear those letters just kept all jumbling, and I couldn't tell you what her name was at that time. I was like, what is this nurse's name? It was Melissa. Now that I do remember that now, but at the time I was like, it took me forever. I was like, I don't know what my nurse's name is. I can't read it. None of those letters make any sense.
Wow.
My handwriting's changed. But yeah, I had a very, very bleak outlook, and something amazing happened between when I left Iowa City to the time that I got to Burlington. Because I remember that day, once again, the headache never really left the whole time that I was in Iowa City. And it was really bad that day. It was super sunny out, and I just remember, like, the motion of the car made me feel sick, and we'd even grab something to eat on the way down. And I just everything, like, it was just too much for my whole body to process. And I came down, and immediately, you know, there's doctors, nurses. I had friends and family come in and visit me while I was here. Finally, I had a few come and visit me up in Iowa City, which I'm incredibly grateful for. My best friend, Stephanie, in fact, came to visit me, and there's parts of that I don't remember that she finds hilarious, because we laughed about some things that were just so funny at the time, and I have zero memory of it, but totally fine. But then finally it all calmed down. Everybody had left, and I got up, went to the restroom, and I was standing up, and then the door to the restroom burst open, and my nurse on call was like, "Oh, thank goodness, you're not supposed to get up on your own."
You were setting off the bells and whistles, weren't you?
Yeah. Well, no, she came into the room, and they couldn't find me.
Oh, so they thought you went AWOL.
Yeah, so she panicked because I wasn't supposed to get up unassisted. And I'd gotten up and walked quite a ways, the farthest I'd walked by myself for an entire week, and went to the bathroom by myself.
You just doing what you normally think to do.
It was literally the first time I had been alone in over a week.
Wow.
Because I had shared room while I was in Iowa City, but Shane had spent time with me, or there was always a nurse or a doctor or somebody, or I was always going for some sort of a test, because, you know, they have to do all these tests to rule things out, which I appreciate. But it was like constant up there. And down here, it was, you know, a little bit more relaxed. But yeah, I gave the poor nurse a little bit of panic, and that night when I went to bed, they put the alarm on the bed, and I'm like, yeah, you probably should do that. So then you'll know if I get up, and I'm sorry in advance if I do.
Yeah. Oh, those alarms.
But yeah, something amazing happened. God did an amazing work in me from the time that I got from Iowa City to Burlington, because within 2.5 days, I was able to go home.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you got that, you were supposed to be there for 2 weeks plus.
Plus then a care facility for an undetermined amount of time.
We might have met there then if you had gone.
We may have totally met there beforehand. And that was just to help me to work on not necessarily, I didn't end up needing much physical therapy, but more speech therapy and occupational therapy. And speech therapy is actually a lot more than just like the spoken word, which was what I kind of thought it was. It's dealing cognitively with different things.
And swallowing and...
Yeah, all kinds of different things. I actually have a funny story that goes along with my speech therapy. So I couldn't drive for a year after my stroke because they were worried about my vision. And so I always had somebody taking me to and from wherever I needed to go, whatever doctor's visits. And once again, my best friend was with me, and she was hanging out with Jensen, and I went in for my speech therapy, and she would give me these little cards that would have different pictures on them of just different random things. And I was supposed to study them and memorize them, basically. So she would then take the card away, and I had to recall what was on the card. And then at different times during my speech therapy appointment, she would ask me to recall those. So we're working on memory specifically. And I remember sitting there, and I'm staring at this card, and I could have told you that it was an animal, but I could not, there were no words for it. I had no memory of what it was. And I finally asked her, and she's like, "Oh, that's an elephant," which I find completely hilarious because
the animal
I know, elephants that never forget, and that's the one that I forgot. So my best friend and I just continually laugh about that because I was so frustrated when I came out because I was like, I couldn't remember. So that's just kind of funny. Like, it doesn't upset me anymore. I find it funny that I forgot the elephant that
never forgets.
So I told my husband, I
Irony.
said, I want to have a tattoo with an elephant on my shoulder to just kind of commemorate that
You'll remember.
I will always remember now.
You should have it on your hand with the word elephant on the bottom so you can have a cheat sheet right
there. There you go. No, it has to go on there because I have my lion on my left side and my
as long as you can read it like elephant.
I could have it put upside down. Yeah, I could read. Yeah, that would work.
So you can read it. Put it inside of some type of design so people aren't like, why is there an elephant written upside down on top of an elephant?
It's okay. It would just go with me because I'm a whole bucket of crazy.
You're a fun bucket of crazy, though.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a fun bucket of crazy. It's great.
All right. Here comes another one of your statistics that you had. Mm-hmm. Stroke is the leading cause of serious long-term disability. Stroke reduces mobility in more than half of the stroke survivors ages 65 and older. So, you were pretty young for a stroke, and most people you said are 60 years old. Oh, there comes a breeze. It feels really good.
It felt great.
Yeah. You can blow my papers around. It's okay.
It's a little warm in here.
Yeah. But I knew, and I got to know a lot of amazing people who had, strokes as an older person. But for the older person who had a stroke, or the family members who, are surrounding and helping this person, and if they're still in their home, what different type, do you know, is there any like support group? You said online support groups, but is there anything here locally? There is
the hospital has a local stroke support group. Mm-hmm. And I had gone and it was good. I felt a little out of place only because I was so much younger than everybody there. Mm-hmm. So I haven't been there very much, but there is one associated with the hospital, that I've been to, and they have lots of good things there as far as like dealing with, what your new diet needs to be and different things like that. So there are local things definitely to check out. And you can always ask your doctor or your local hospital. They'll be able to direct you to where the stroke support groups are. I don't remember how I ended up finding them on Facebook.
Is there family support groups? Because
those can be for family as well.
Okay, good.
Yes.
I know you would see someone at the place I was working at, and their family member was, so devoted, so helping, and a lot of times they develop issues due to just the stress of being a caregiver, and they need, support too, I think. Yeah,
absolutely, 100%. And the ones that I do online and the one at the hospital is for family members as well as the stroke survivor.
Okay, good.
So there's help out there for that too. Mm-hmm. And definitely if you're a caregiver, definitely check into that kind of a thing, because you need some sort of rest too, because it's a lot, and at the time, like, I was working through just to get back to doing normal things. Mm-hmm. I didn't even realize all the stress that my poor husband was going through, just trying to do daily life and make sure our kids got wherever they needed to go. Mm-hmm. That put a lot of stress on him. So luckily for him, he also had some godly men that came around him, and we used to have a hot tub, and they'd come over and they'd hang out in the hot tub and just talk, and it was a way for him to kind of decompress. Mm-hmm. And do that as well. So highly recommend, if you are a supporter of a stroke survivor, make sure you get that too, because it's so very important. Mm-hmm. Because the stress on a stroke survivor is a lot, but they don't talk about necessarily the caregivers. Mm-hmm. And I think more of that has come out now that they're talking about, because you also see like children that are caregiving for their adult parents. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so I think there's more of
they call it the sandwich generation, where you're taking care of your parents and you're still taking care of your kids. And
so there's more need for that kind of a thing right now.
Yeah. And then also, for the children, especially younger children, to be able to help them process
absolutely
what's going on with mom, what's going on with dad, or even grandma, grandpa, and things like that. So
yeah, and there's family counseling too. We went through some family counseling sessions as well, some couples sessions, and like I said, I still go to therapy probably every 4 weeks now. Sometimes it's a little bit more if I'm feeling a little bit stressed out. Like the beginning of the pandemic, I was like, I wasn't physically going in there, but we were doing telemed, and I was like, can I talk to you every day because I am freaking out? Not literally, but
right.
Just when those times are more stressful, then you know what, you may need help, and there's no shame in it. There's seriously no shame in it.
Yeah,
I feel like there's been that stigma so long with mental health,
and I think that's kind of ironic that there's a stigma with mental health, because I mean, everybody has things that they deal with.
Absolutely.
And if we can network with each other, if we could support each other, if we could build those relationships with each other, then if we can be open and honest with each other, then, that stigma can't be there, because we all have things, and we all have different strengths and different weaknesses, and we
need to be able to be there to support each other. And that's kind of the cool thing, is as I've walked through this stroke journey, the people that I've come into contact with, and even just one lady recently that a friend led me to her page, and I got to know her. She's a little bit younger than I am, and as a young stroke survivor. So I've been able to help, I hope, be a support to her, in the beginning of her stroke journey. But there have been other people that I've just been able to connect with, and to kind of help them along a little bit. And also there have been people that I've been able to help understand how to support them. And that's the thing too. My best friend had talked about, she was afraid about breaking me when I first got out of the hospital. Like she was
bubble wrapped.
Yeah. That's, she's like, I'm just so nervous. I'm like, don't be nervous. Like, I'm okay. I'm still here. Don't treat me with kid gloves. You don't have to be careful with me. It's okay. You can treat me like I'm normal. And I think that's something that's very important to remember too, is that, treat them like they're normal. Give them time to speak, especially if they have aphasia. And don't necessarily try to help them find the word. For me personally, that confuses me more, because it throws more words, and I've got more words jumbling around in my head. And I love that people try to help, but I'm like, you just sometimes got to give me a minute to process. So,
yeah, I do that to Doug every once in a while. Sorry, honey. Yeah, my grandma is going through that aphasia stage, and I was talking to my uncle who lives with her out in Seattle,
right?
And there's a lady named Teepa Snow, and I will talk her up anytime. She deals with dementia, but there is a lot of stroke-related dementia.
Yeah.
And if you have especially an older relative, or maybe there's actually dementia that affects people that are way younger than you would think. Everyone thinks that dementia happens like when you're old, but old seems a lot younger than it used to be.
Well, and same thing with the stroke. Like, it can happen at any time.
Yeah. So this lady name is Teepa, Teepa Snow.
That's a cute name. I love it.
Yeah. Well, that's her name. She changed her name because one of her clients couldn't say her name, and I don't even know what her real name was, but he always called her Teepa. And so she says, well, I shall be Teepa then. And
oh my gosh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, she's an amazing. Anyway, she has a family conference online, and if you Google Teepa Snow Breathe, it'll take you to 6 10-minute segments to help people deal with Alzheimer's, dementia, things like that. But
that's cool.
One of the things is when someone's speaking, and the aphasia part of it, she helps people not make people nervous.
Yeah, because that absolutely, because then they're trying to help you, and then it gives me not necessarily panic, but makes my nerves go a little crazy, and so then I can't think, and everything gets jumbled.
And if you're searching for a word and someone gives you a word similar to it and it's not the one you actually wanted, that could be frustrating.
Yeah, because that that's not the right word. But you're like, that other word is completely gone. Like, it's just out there in La La Land somewhere, and now it's been replaced by this other word that's not right. And you're like, this is not right, and it makes me angry.
Oh, yeah. Well, and that's, giving people time,
Yes.
time to heal, time to process, time to speak.
Yeah, because there's no time limit on a stroke journey. There's no time limit on like a dementia journey. You just kind of need to give people time. I think we get in such a hurry because we're like, okay, come on,
I've got a schedule to keep.
Yeah, exactly. Just take that time and just look at them and treat them like they're the most important person in the world. And that'll definitely help. I do much better with somebody who's calm and who's not trying to almost talk over me and help me out. They're trying to help out, so they do have the best heart, and I appreciate that so much. So don't think I'm downplaying anybody, because I do appreciate it, but you almost need to take a step back and just let them process. And sometimes it'll just go away and I'll never get it back, and so I just go on to the next thing. Like, well, whatever,
Ride the next wave.
yeah, exactly. I'll just go on to something else, and sometimes it pops in there, but more than likely it never reconnects. That that connection is broken. It's a little busted, and
but it doesn't mean that there can't be a workaround or a new connection somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. And that'll come sometime later, and I'll be like, oh yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like when I remember a punchline of a joke that I knew was hilarious at the time, and I'm like, I can't think of anything right now.
Oh, darn it.
Yeah.
See, now you know what my world is like. Like, I know there's something that I'm supposed to be saying right now, but
There's something I'm supposed to be doing, saying.
Yeah. You constantly, well, and that's the thing too, like, you constantly feel like you're forgetting something. And, once again, whether it is a little bit of the medicine, a little bit of the stroke, so it's just kind of a combination of those kind of things that come in there. And like I said, sometimes I'm just kind of like, well, it is what it is.
So you just take it as it comes.
Yeah, exactly. And, I haven't got my complete healing yet. I believe God is a big God and can completely heal me. But I'm almost thankful that he hasn't, due to the people that I've met through this journey, because I probably would not have become as good of friends with you as I have if I had not have had this journey. And even like Miriam, So there are some people that I wouldn't have. And part of that was just because I was a very closed off individual.
See, I never knew closed off, Jen.
I know, right?
I just known open and
fun, Jen.
Yeah.
I'm 2.0.
I'm a whole bucket
of fun.
Yeah, dose.
Exactly.
Jen to the second power.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, I mean, I do say that lovingly, and I'm fine with this new version of me. Some of it I would like to change, like I would really like to get rid of the nerve pain and the vision. Struggling with the weird vision. So that's the funny thing. So with the vision, they can tell you it's going to come back, but they don't exactly know how it's going to come back.
Like your vision's going to come back? Okay.
Yeah, but there's not like a time frame on it. And I'm at the point now where it's slower, and it may still all come back, but they don't know. But like in the beginning, they're like, yeah, your vision's going to come back, but we're not exactly sure how. Mine decided to come back from the outside in.
So was it looking like you had like something in the middle then? Because you said it was like this.
Yeah. So it's like I have a curve that's all fuzzy. And so like when I'm holding my hand here in front of my face, I can't see my second finger. It's totally gone.
But you can see your other fingers?
Yeah. The one next to it is a little bit blurry. But yeah. So it's kind of strange. And sometimes I've had where if my brain can't make sense of what it's seeing, it'll pluck stuff out of my vision like it's not there. So I constantly trip on things or run into things, which is totally funny. But I do. I think it's so funny.
I'm glad you have a good sense of humor about it. Oh my goodness. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back after this. We are back on the King Kong
Yes.
Trail, rolling through the trail. I didn't know we had the trail paved. I thought it was we were walking through the trail or we're riding through the trail, but we're going to be rolling through the trail. Like right now.
Yes, let's go.
Yeah. Well, maybe after pie.
I'm probably going to need a nap later. It's okay. Or just bed. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. It is about that time.
I know, right? Like, it creeps up on you. I'm like, I am such an old person now. And I'm okay with it. I'm totally okay with it.
Yes. We have become the ancient ones.
Yeah. And it's fine.
It is what it is.
Yes. And
Yeah.
that's exactly where I'm at.
We'll take each day as it comes.
Yes.
Comes hell or high water. Actually, if high water got up to here,
We're all in trouble.
Yeah, I was going to say we would need Noah's Ark because we're up on the hill. So
Does this thing float?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, that's
we could put pontoons under
Next
it.
project.
Yeah, there you go. You just make it floatable just in case everybody thought Noah was crazy until it rained.
That's right. That's right. So we'll make the studio into a pontoon boat.
Hey, then we can take the
Oh,
King
then I-
Kong Trail on the Mississippi.
Then I could be like Moana. I
yes.
love Moana. Yes.
So does that mean he gets to be... Okay, so do you get to be the chicken? Or do you get...
You see, you're welcome.
Yeah, I all of a sudden I can't remember The Rock's character. He's a Hawaiian god. Demigod.
God.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I can't. Okay, talking about forgetting things.
I passed it on.
I should know that. Anyway, so we're just going to say The Rock's character.
The Rock's character on Moana.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm turning in my Hawaiian card right now.
That's fine. Hawaii is a place I'd love to go.
Yes, I think I should go back. This time I'll bring my family. Then they can meet my other family. And then we can have a family luau. And then they can cook all the good. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I miss. Okay, so I don't know if any of my family in Hawaii listens to this, but if you want to send me some of the food from whatever gathering you guys are going to be doing, because there's gatherings all the time.
Oh, sweet.
I missed it. It was so good. Anyway, back to this.
Okay.
Let's do one more. Oops, I'm tied up. Oh my
See,
goodness.
that was the problem with mine. So I just, it's fine. I don't need them.
Well, it's because I'm twirling around and messing with my feet, and I got the cord wrapped all around me like
I keep kicking the thing underneath here, and then I hear a gong, and I'm like,
But we didn't hear it through here, so we're good.
oh, good. Oh, good.
So there's no gong. Gong
Good,
is
good,
good. Okay. Alrighty. So, where was that one that I
Back on
had?
the first page.
Yep. Okay. Every year, more than 795,000 people in the United States have a stroke. About 610 of these are first or new strokes. So I would have imagined that there would have been more second strokes than the first strokes.
So you are much more likely, once you've had one stroke, to have subsequent strokes. So between you and I, my chances, even though I don't crack my neck anymore, my chances of having another stroke are astronomical, where yours are like little tiny. So yes, but that first stroke is probably the most impactful.
Okay. So, like, the more subsequent strokes you have, is your body used to them, or
It just depends, because every stroke is different.
Oh, true that.
It's kind of like every person is different. Every stroke is different. And there's nothing to say that you're just walking along, because they don't know the reason for every stroke. Some of them have reasons and some of them don't. So, like weight. So your diet has a factor. I'm trying to think. Did it say?
Smoking,
is a factor.
genetics, maybe.
Genetics. You can be predisposed to it.
I think you had it in here
There are
somewhere.
some people that are predisposed to having blood clots. So it absolutely can be a genetic thing.
So would that be stroke and heart attack then? So that's a double whammy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's probably is that people that does that have anything to do with triglycerides and your?
Oh, that I don't know. I would imagine that it would, because that's important with heart health is to keep those low.
Yeah. So I was wondering if that had anything to do with it. So maybe that
It
genetics
might.
and diet for that one, right?
Something else for me to
Exercise.
look into.
Okay. That could be your next post.
Yeah, who knows? Like, I just find, stroke facts and try to post common ones to kind of help people pick out and know more about what's going on.
So is there any stroke awareness campaign locally here that, besides your Facebook page, which is, it's really good information. It really is. And it's, it would be, I think, encouraging for anyone who has gone through that recently, or maybe even not so recently, to, maybe share their stories and things like that, because, it's our stories that help other people survive what they're going through. And it's one of the reasons why we do the King Kong Trails, because people's stories, they matter, because people matter.
They do. And that becomes what you go through has become part of somebody else's survival guide.
Yeah.
So, it's very, very important. And I know some things are very hard to share, and I understand that. I really, really do. So I don't mean to step on anybody who's like, I don't really want to. That's totally fine too. But it doesn't mean that you're going to talk to some huge audience. Sometimes it's just for one person.
It could be one family member.
Exactly. Sometimes it's just one
never
person.
know.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be someone in the line at the grocery store. Who knows,
Yeah, I mean, I've met so many random people that, I say random, and I know that it's totally a God thing, that people that I've been connected with through this journey that I wouldn't have been connected with beforehand, that I've been able to, I don't know necessarily help, but to kind of give more understanding to. It's gone.
That's okay. It'll come back if it wants to come back.
Exactly. Like, well, whatever.
Yeah.
See, that's one of those little moments.
And like you said, that just happens,
Yeah, there's no and I've noticed too, like, when I'm tired, when I am overstimulated, or I'm experiencing a lot of pain, like, those happen more often.
That's very understandable.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, I did a lot of trial and error, and especially with, like, the nerve pain on my right side. And I think my doctor thought I was...
This might answer your question.
We're not talking to you, Alexa. Oh my goodness. Wow. I'm like, I saw her light going off, and I'm like,
Alexa just wants to be part of the conversation too. We know you're there, honey. It's okay.
Is that how you turn it off?
I don't know. I don't have an Alexa.
Oh, just unplug it. That's smart. Thanks, hon.
Alexa freaks me out, so I don't have one.
I have little spies everywhere. They come in handy for what they come in handy for, and then I'm just like, I have nothing to hide.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, I'm an open book.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. So, well, I'm glad Alexa was trying to butt in on the conversation, but...
Yeah. Thanks, Alexa.
Yeah, dumb computers. Anyway. I can say that this is a dumb computer because now it's unplugged and she can't hear me and then send AI out to get me.
Yeah, exactly. That's what's going to happen. Like, don't watch the Terminator or shows like that, because...
Don't take off the AI.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm like, this is what we're going toward. Like, I watched way too many dystopian future things to not know that we're in the middle of a zombie apocalypse right now. I mean...
Do you watch Walking Dead?
Not really anymore. Every once in a while
You were a Walking Dead person?
I was, yeah.
We got along so great just until a second ago. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, it's
Once they got rid of Rick, I was like, well, no,
they killed off Glenn. I'm done.
That made me so... Oh.
Yeah, I'm kidding. I don't really watch it, but I was upset. I'm like, hey, I kind of like that. Because I'd walk into it because Doug and the kids watch it, and everybody that comes to our house on Sunday nights watches it. And I'm like, in the other room, kind of rolling my eyes. But I kind of liked that character, every once in a while.
That was a sad moment. I was like, I boycotted for a while after that.
Protest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Then I watch it. So easy. Doug's like, yeah, right. Yeah, you do. I'm like, no, I don't.
He's over there grinning. She does. She just really does.
I will deny it. I will deny it till the day I become a zombie myself. All right. Anyway. Oh, goodness. Well, Jen, I think we covered quite a bunch of things. We have
It's a lot to unpack in a short amount of time.
And we'll put up those links to some
Awesome.
support groups. So if you can send Doug the links, because
Okay.
I'm really not good at opening email, text, or phones.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, people already know this about me. It is nothing personal to anyone who sends me any messages, but
It's not.
if you know me, just send it to somebody else that'll actually open it.
Exactly. That's what I did earlier. I'm like, Doug, where do you live? I can't remember. And then Shane drove me, so it was fine.
I live in a van down by the river.
One of my best skits.
I love that skit. Oh my goodness.
That one and the one that he did with Patrick Swayze, where they were the Chippendales dancers. How we got on that subject, I don't know. But
I don't know. Chris Farley can work his way into any conversation. I guess. I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, stroke awareness is something I'm super passionate about, obviously, because it's close to home. But like I said, once I got more into knowing the different facts and stuff, then I really realized how it touches all of our lives, and just help to create some awareness for something that is, and like I said, it's in the top 5 reasons, or not exactly sure of that word, reasons people pass away. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Let's go ahead and just touch on that fast again. Can you look that one up? Because I think that's just really important, and, just to make sure that we're giving people the, kind of the bookending it with something kind of a simple that,
Yeah, and it is really a simple acronym that you can remember to go along with. So the acronym is FAST, and so the first one for F is face. Ask the person to smile. Does one side of the face droop? A, their arm. Ask the person to raise both arms. Does one of their arms drift downward? And something additional that we talked about is ask them to squeeze your hands, as is one of those weaker than the others. And then S for speech. Ask the person to repeat a simple phrase. Not similar. Is the speech? See, here I am, slurred or strange. And then T for time. If you see any of these signs, call 911 right away. And so that's the key there, is getting to a hospital right away. Because like I said, there's a lot they can do within that first half hour, 30 minutes that will help on your stroke journey.
Yeah. And I think some people are like, I'm fine. Don't worry about it. People
That's
don't
where I
want
was.
people to worry about them.
Absolutely. Why? I'm fine. It's all. I'm all good.
Yeah. So call 911. When in doubt,
Absolutely.
People's lives are on the line, because it would have been you, your kids affected, your husband affected,
Exactly.
The whole group, and
Because it affected a lot of people around us, that they were like, oh my goodness. But I think part of that too is, you see somebody that young have something, and it forces you to face your own mortality as well, which is totally a fine response. Because you think about, oh my goodness, like what if something happened to so-and-so that goes along with it? So, and in that aspect, it can help to create a lot of understanding. So that's kind of a nice thing that goes along with it, is that it can help create not only awareness, but some understanding.
Well, I think the understanding not only during the stroke process, but in the recovery.
Yeah, the recovery is big.
Because it's like if a caregiver was already stressed and tired, and
Yes.
it's really easy to get short-tempered. And
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's easier to get short-tempered with the people you love than
100%.
than the people that you're maybe working with if you worked in a care center or something like
Right.
that, because there you're on the job to take care, but at home you're just like, so.
Well, and they're more likely to forgive you than a coworker.
So, giving yourself time, giving them time,
Absolutely.
breathing, taking deep breaths yourself.
Well, and there are different breathing exercises you can do, like, square breathing. You can look I'll see if I can find a link for square breathing to kind of help, just to calm yourself down. And take a minute. Don't forget to take a minute and take that time as a caregiver for yourself. That's so important. Find somebody to sit with the person. Like, it's not generally a burden. And sometimes, it might create sort of a fun bond between that other person and who you're the caregiver for.
Yeah. And, it helps build relationships like that. Yeah,
absolutely.
Definitely. Yeah, you have to take care of yourself so you can take care of other people.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Jen, 2.0. Yes. Thank you so much for coming on the King Kong Trail with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Anytime. You can come over anytime. You know where I live.
I do.
Well, Southeast Iowa, Burlington, tri-state area, wherever you're listening from, France, Germany, Yugoslavia, I don't know where you're at. I just want to thank you so much for coming on this journey of the King Kong Trail. Just remember, fast for face, arms, speech, and time. And yes, I did peek at her notes when I just said that. I want to make sure I get it right.
I have to too, so don't worry about it. Like, I sat here and read them. It's fine.
Yeah. So May is Stroke Awareness Month, and make sure that you're taking care of yourself. And if you are feeling this stuff, don't tell somebody who asks you, I'm feeling fine. Say, call 911. It's okay.
Exactly. Yes.
It's okay. So, and that will do it for us here on the trail. We'll see you again next week. And I do know who we're having for our next guest, but I'm going to leave that for a surprise.
Ooh.
Yes. Because he's super cool. He's such a sweetheart. So you guys will have to come back next week to see that.
There you go.
Talk to you later. Bye.